Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to The Fort Within. This will be, I think, episode 4. Today, we're going to be diving into the mindset of what separates those who are stuck and those who grow, right? So, talk about embracing the struggle. Today, I got a guest with me who I've known for a very long time.
Yeah.
Tony Davis. Goes by Tony. Real name Antonio. Anyways, we've been through a couple units together, instructors together, and I can honestly say, you've probably been one of the only friends I've really stayed in contact with. You know, we have those Facebook friends, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely one I check on or get checked on.
Yeah.
But I'd say we've been, honestly, it's kind of weird because like when you're in the military, you make a lot of friends, but you don't always stay in touch with everybody.
Yeah.
But I can honestly say I probably stay in touch with you more than most folks. But anyways,
Hey, same here.
yeah, we've I think you've seen my struggles coming, back in the schoolhouse, and then you've got some of your own. And you've been what what were you before you came over to the air defense world?
13th Tango. So that was Field Artillery Survey Met. So it was positioning of the guns and the weather for Field Artillery.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. So yeah, you've been in the F8 world for a while, and that's
in the fires community for 20 plus years.
Oh, sheesh. Yeah, that's a long time. Yeah. So yeah, you've probably got some stories or some struggles in your military career that we can probably delve into. But today we're just going to really talk about why, like, embracing the suck, something that if you're in the military, but I mean, not just the military, but just life in general, right? Why, why breaking down why pain isn't the enemy. It's a process, right? So discomfort isn't always something you want to avoid, but it's something to kind of lean into. So just on the topic of embracing the suck, like, what does it mean to you? And when did you first, you can do your personal life and then, of course, military experience, of course. When did you first run into this?
So embracing the suck, man, honestly, it's really like when haven't I been embracing the suck? Like early on in my military career, just dealing with being at such a, like when I first joined, I went to like the top echelon in the Army. Like it was the Corps,
Right.
like pretty much that's right under Army, like it was working with stars and officers of ranks that I just wasn't used to seeing at such a young age, and I mean, I was like an E1 working in the office with lieutenant colonels and full-bird colonels, and that right there was embracing the suck because you're the lowest guy on the totem pole,
Right.
and you're working in an office of people of caliber that you're not just normally accustomed to. I'm used to knuckle dragging down the motor pool, of course, when you get older, but like that right there, just dealing with that on a consistent basis.
Right.
And like, it's kind of weird because when I say is like dealing with other people's, I guess, mannerisms, because like I was working with lieutenant colonels who just spit dip onto like they spit in the trash can and it'll miss and it'll be like all over the side, and you got me taking the trash out. I'm like,
This is
okay,
gross.
all right, yeah, this is welcome to the Army,
Yeah.
But and then having to go to Iraq so early on, like literally, like it was a surge, so
Right.
dealing with that, I mean, of course I joined the Army to go to war is kind of like what motivated me more or less, but I guess I just didn't have my head fully wrapped around it once I, kind of got over there for the first time and seeing things that I'm just not accustomed to,
Right.
Like, I mean, it's probably like a little graphic to talk about.
No.
Just seeing stuff
Yeah.
on the side of the roads, and
Yeah.
it'll do some stuff to you, So it's just, I say embracing the suck as being able to bounce back from that and not have it deal with you on your like everyday basis life.
Right.
Not letting it get to you, just embracing the suck, just dealing with things, taking it head on and fighting through it. That's how I look at as what is embracing the suck.
Right.
And I don't know, I feel like it's just, I've been dealing with it for so long that it's so becomes custom,
Right.
just dealing with things in your day-to-day life, whether it be military related or just life in general, is
Yeah.
just life will deal you a hand that you wasn't expecting, and you got to play those cards.
Yeah,
So
you do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can probably talk about my personal life here is that when I first probably encountered, I think pretty much like the same. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate to this and say that they've been struggling their whole lives, right? And that's kind of, people, my experiences is obviously different than yours. And of course, everybody has a different life experience. So, for me, I embraced the suck in life before I joined the Army. And then joining the Army was a completely different embrace to suck, right? It's kind of like, before I joined the Army, I had failed out of college. My choice was literally, my mom was like, you can move back with me and get a job. And the town we came from was a little town in California, like a little farm town. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Got kicked out of college, academically suspended. I did terrible. At least I got to go, right? So, kind of looking back on it now, it's like, well, at least I had the opportunity to go to college. Some people don't. But even before then, I think there was a time where immediately when I turned 18, my mom had kicked me. I say she kicked me out. She heard this podcast. She's probably like, that's not what I said. You know, that was as a young 18-year-old, that's how I perceived it.
yeah.
And then I spent my last year in high school just trying to play catch up because I moved a lot as a kid. So constantly moving, going to different schools. I was behind like a whole semester. So I had to do a lot of summer school to kind of barely graduated high school. Barely. Went to the first college that would take me. I want to go. I treated college like high school and ended up getting kicked out. Yep. And there I am signing up and shipping out in like 2 weeks. So I was like, they offered me, I think 40,000 to sign up. Like, I'll take it, so sure.
Hey,
$40,000.
at least you got something. I literally joined the Army and didn't get nothing. I joined to get out the house.
Yeah. And, yeah. So luckily I had that, I'm blessed in that sense, right? Because 40,000 for a young 18, 19-year-old kid. Well, at the time I was 20. That's a lot of money. But, there's a caveat to that. I definitely didn't save or invest or do anything smart with that money. I definitely just blew it. Kind of look back on that now. I'm like, man, I'd be okay if I had just saved that money, invested it. If I had the knowledge I know now back then, I would have been great.
Oh, yeah.
But of course, learning, right? That's part of kind of what we're talking about today is, growing from those mistakes and experiences. But yeah. And then of course, you join the Army and it's a whole different kind of life. Your life is turned upside down and I remember standing in the first morning in basic, I got up, I shaved or, tried to shave. And I stood there and I'm like, what am I doing here? Like part of me wanted to grab my little bag and just walk out of there. And I was like,
yeah, no lie. Because I remember day one in the Bay and they had us all lined up on our bunks. Now, what the drill sergeant said was, we're going to make the wall sweat. And they said that prior to even going into bed. He's like, you know what, we're going to go upstairs. We're going to make the wall sweat, privates. Or I want to say he said privates. He might have said something very colorful, but it was also a different time. Mm-hmm. But we were up there. I want to say they had us front back going and more than just front back going. It was like literally getting smoked at our bunks. It got so steamy in the room, in the Bay, you could see a haze. And now, mind you, this is October.
Right.
In Fort Sill. So it's kind of muggy outside a little bit, not really too hot or not too cold. But inside that room was steamy, hazy. And the drill sergeant said, if anybody wants to leave, take your ID card and set it on the bunk. Now, mind you, I don't know if that was really a thing that you could do, actually let you leave. But don't get me wrong. I contemplated doing that. And I've seen probably about 4 people do it. And I can't remember now if I ever seen him again. It was so long ago. But I really contemplated throwing my little ID card on the bed. I'm like, yeah, I think I'll just go home. But what did I do? I embraced the suck.
Yeah.
I dealt with it. I just said, this is what I signed up to do, is what I said I was going to do. Let me see it through.
Right.
Let me not just quit,
Right. Yeah, I think basic was probably the first time that I again, wanted to quit. And well, I mean, like you said, did we really have a choice? Once you're there, right? There's really no going back. But, I made it through basics. Like, yeah. And then I went on to AIT. That was another 20 weeks of, I think the biggest part there was, and that's kind of when embracing the suck really like started to make, I guess I don't think we talked about it. Maybe we did. I don't know, as young soldiers, but when you get there, because on your contract it says 10 weeks, right? And I showed up to Fort Bliss and they're like, what's your contract say? I'm like, 10 weeks. And they're like, wrong, 20 weeks. You're here for 20 weeks. I'm like, I was in shock. And I remember getting on the payphone because they took my cell phone, they took my laptop right away. And
Wow, you had a cell phone and a laptop?
Yeah.
I came on the quarter, so I guess, right.
Well, like I got that stuff between basic and AIT, so I literally just got that stuff, right? And then I get there, they take it away, and they dump my bag all over. I got these like senior, the senior soldiers there in AIT yelling at me, dumping my bags, inventorying all my stuff, and I'm just like, am I packing basic? What is going on here? And then they dropped a 20-week bomb on me, and I was like, oh my goodness! And I remember just calling my mom, like they said I was crying. I was crying. I remember I was like, Mom, they said it's 20 weeks. And I was just, man, it was a whole new experience. Again, I called it advanced individual basic training again.
Yeah.
It was fun, but it wasn't fun. You're right. Like, you look back on it now, it's like, wow, actually AIT was while it sucked, it was some of the best times I had in the military.
Yeah, no lie. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. Yeah. I was actually going through some pictures recently. So some of the pictures I took in AIT and basic, or not basic, AIT, just running down memory lane. I was like, wow, such simple but good times.
Right. Yeah, it was easy. Like, and even my first time, I got to my unit and we left right away. Like, yeah, there were some struggle bus times.
Yeah.
And I remember just like, what am I doing? But those are things. And of course, like as I gone on, even at the schoolhouse, we, being an instructor wasn't easy. Those were
Got some stories there.
Yeah. Those were some struggle bus times too, man. And not only just in the military life, but in my personal life. Like, that's where I got my first divorce. I think I said this in a previous episode where I was like, I was off, volunteering to march the soldiers to dinner or breakfast or whatever, just so I could be like, let me get some food, not from them, but from the lunch ladies were nice. Like, sorry, you want to eat? I'm like, yeah. 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 100% I want to eat. But, no, it's just crazy, how, we just got accustomed to it, right? Like I did this past 9 months, not past 9 months, but, my last 9 months, rotation to Kuwait was awful. And I'm getting up there, man. I'm like, I was 36, turned 37, like doing 24 on, 24 off shifts, man. I was like, my body just could not. This is terrible. I was in some
that Saudi deployment. Boy, I got some friends from when I was in that unit. I still talk to this day. We still I feel like I just got PTSD from that alone.
Yeah,
but it's not even like it was anything traumatic, but it was just the op tempo and just.
Yeah. I think crazy. It's right. So, a lot of people talk about combat deployments and then, of course, the types that air defense goes on, right? It's just kind of a rotational base. And they're from the people that I've spoken to, I've never been to a combat deployment, so I can't speak on that. But people that have, they're like, man, this is a different kind of suck. Like, this is a different kind of just monotonous. It's like people out there being bored and they just come up with stuff, or they do. I don't know how to explain it. It's something you have to experience if you really want the full context of it, right? Like,
okay, now this coming from a guy that's been to Iraq, Afghanistan, and have also done an air defense deployment. They're completely different.
Of course.
They are completely different in their own rights, but don't get me wrong. You can definitely get some PTSD from some of them simple and easy air defense deployments, because I feel like we have a good way of coming up with things to do. Right. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have nothing to do, let's do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you can definitely get some traumatic events from those easy air defense deployments,
Yeah.
uh and it's not even combat related, dude. You would think possibly getting shot at by a missile would scare you.
Right.
But what's more scaring is the ranger or reindeer games you're gonna play the next day based off what happened the day before.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like let's be very reactive to what we got going on. It's like
Yeah.
that definitely put some stress on you for real,
Hmm.
because it's like a monotonous, never ending, like, I guess, mind thing. That's the
Yeah.
only way I could really just put it into words.
Yeah. I can say that because for me, at least on this last one, right? This last one, I was in the talk. I was a battle captain, battalion, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And every day was something, right? Again, it wasn't combat related, it wasn't anything like, getting shot at or, shooting people, anything like
Yeah.
that. It was just the constant, like, I say yelled at, but I'm getting, phone calls about this and about that, like this report and that report. And it's like, oh
Yeah.
goodness. And it's just, like you said, it's constant.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest concept of you're responsible for everything that happens in here,
Hmm.
but you have no authority to really do anything about it. Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
oh, this is great. This is great. This sounds like the perfect arrangement for me. And
Yeah.
that's exactly how it was. That might not have been true, but that's definitely how I perceived it at the time. Man, every day just get, all right. And you would literally eventually, I think we got used to it between me and the other two battle captains. We're like, all right, what do we get punched for today? Like, what kind of abuse am I going to get?
Yeah.
And
I find it funny because me and you kind of, like, in a way, we kind of like flip flopped, like you kind of replaced me, but you didn't really replace me because I wasn't there at the time, but you took the
right.
job that I had.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's like different, I don't know. I'm not going to say it's like how a person runs it, but it's also about like I think it's the latitude that you're given, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
because I was given a lot of latitude when I was like doing that job. I think it's more or less like how you deal with it. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. Doing that ops job, I used to leave work. I hop in my truck and I like ride home with no music.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Today drained me. Let me just not put any music on that's gonna like maybe calm me down, but let me just ride in silence to contemplate my day and see how I'm gonna deal with it, when I get home. Because
Yeah.
there were some days where I'd go home and I'd probably drink probably half a bottle of alcohol. I mean, that says something,
Right.
it was so stressful, and it's like the way
To cope
to cope,
or just
like,
to unwind from the day.
yeah.
Well, I can actually speak. Well, not on that, but yeah. I mean, from the deployment environment to the garrison environment. Yeah, I eventually took your old position of the S3, and so I see ops, whatever you want to call it. And when I first took it over, I was super overwhelmed, like just so much stuff going down. And like you said, I would drive home and like, whew, this is a no music kind of day. Like this, just driving home like this, just like, and you're just trying to process what kind of day you just had.
Yep.
And, and just it was like that for a long time. Like, no lie. I think we talked about this, just through chat or whatever. Like, man,
Yeah, I'm sure we have.
and everything I brought up, or like, dealing with the gate or dealing with, brigade, our higher, our higher echelon, or, corporate headquarters, if you're a civilian listening to this, and just the struggles. You're just like, because you're right in the middle, right? You're between the higher echelon or brigade and the units, and you're just
You're the freaking middleman.
yeah, and you're trying to get people below you to the units below you to do stuff, and then people above you are dropping stuff on you last minute. Like, literally, you're leaving the office, and here comes like, oh, by the way, here's a short suspense, this and that. You're like, goodness, like, what are we doing right now?
Yeah, we can just let us know just a little bit earlier.
Yeah. Oh, you guys been sitting on this for a while? Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Oh,
Yeah. And then just managing the little gate that we have, that's a headache in itself.
yeah. I
So,
forgot y'all had that. Y'all got that new. That was a thing prior to before, a long time ago, but they brought it back. It's pretty
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. It's, man. But, it was a struggle. I was a shop into IC. I was a platoon sergeant
Yeah.
at the same time, plus, managing the gate on my own, basically. And I will say, though, I'm pretty thankful for the leadership I had in, my bosses in the three, because, again, they let me kind of figure things out on my own, so to speak,
Yeah.
right? Like, all right, we got to do this. All right, here you go, man. Like, I learned to work with them. What I basically started doing was, this is kind of how I embraced the suck, right? And this is how I grew significantly, was that I got into battle staff. I was like, I got to learn how to do this stuff. Like, I don't fully understand it.
Yeah.
Reading op orders, which are like, for those that don't know Army lingo, that's operational orders. That's what kind of gets units moving.
Mm-hmm.
Taskings and planning and all that stuff that kind of goes into it. I hated it. I hated MDMP. I hated all of it. Like, this was
Still.
I actually like it now, but it took me going to a class, like to the battle staff, to sit in there for a month and like rack my brain on this stuff. And like, this all makes sense if it's done right, which,
Yeah, they're done right.
if it's done right, which, to be honest, and I'm going to be honest here, is it's not done right. It's just kind of, not because not everyone knows. We expect everyone to know, but not everyone knows, right? So
Yeah.
I grew professionally a lot from that. And once I got the hang of the op orders and how to write them and the right way, how to do everything, we started cooking. We started, we were in there making things happen. Now, was it great and perfect? Absolutely not. But it was a step in the right direction, right?
Yeah, of course. She was
Right.
in the right direction. Yeah.
But going in the right direction significantly made things harder too, because again, not everyone has knowledge of the process. So, and I'll be honest, because like, I'm like, did you guys read the op order? No, I haven't read it. Well, of course you don't know what's going on because you haven't read the op order. Or, and a lot of my days and weeks was just putting out little fires or putting out fires.
Little fires. That's what it is right there.
You're just
Putting out the little fires.
You're just running around with a little fire extinguisher, like solving problems all day, every day. And while that was stressful, and it was, like you said, man, like, I remember when we first got back and, I had the little corner cubicle so I can look out the window and I can see the parking lot, right?
Oh yeah. You have my desk.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about, right? You have the observation windows, what I call it. And I would stand there at like, 17, and parking lot's empty. And me and the S3 team were still up there working, like doing whatever that we needed to do. Because like it felt like we came back, we didn't do anything, but we did a lot of things. It was weird. It was kind of that weird, like, we're doing a lot of shit, but we're not doing a lot of anything either.
Yeah.
So why am I here? But yeah, leaving at like 1900, everyone's gone already. And you're just like, man,
like, why am I still up here cranking away?
Yep. And you're doing all this work. But again, going through that struggle of just that job, it really, like I said, it helped me grow tremendously professionally in the Army. Which,
yes, I can't say that.
Yeah, I would say was probably a day late, dollar short, considering, because I look back at my other assignments and how I acted and how I guess, performed. And if I were to, I guess, go back and evaluate my younger self or, my other assignments, I'd be like, yeah.
Also, what would you tell Sleepy Joe?
Sleepy Joe? Like, you're lazy. You don't know anything. Like, you need to. And you know what? I was told this my whole life, was like, through school, through, a lot of my military assignments, you have potential, but you just don't apply yourself. And that concept really didn't click. It really didn't click until literally this assignment. I would say when I started kind of like,
I think it's more or less because you had a purpose.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Once you have a purpose and you feel that your voice is heard and matters, then it's like, okay, now I can really give what I'm supposed to bring to the fight,
Right.
That's really what it is, I feel like.
Yeah, that's true. Because prior to actually me taking the shop, again, I was just kind of there, helping where I could or, doing whatever I could. But yeah, like you said, until I finally like, all right, it's time to step up. You're in position now. Let's go. And it's like, well, shit, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know anything.
because it's more or less it was like your first time, or I could be wrong, but I know I felt like it was probably my first time having the reins of something, where I mean, cool, yeah, you're a squad leader, you're a team sergeant, yeah, you have the reins at that time, but only for small amounts of stuff.
Right.
Once you have the reins of some big stuff, and what you say matters on the playing field, more or less, not just
Right.
in one soldier's everyday life. Like, yeah, make sure you go clean up the motor pool and go sweep the line, and yeah, you do this, you do this. Like, just running one person when you're running like multiple people and multiple operations, and like, just when you have your hands in everything,
Right.
that's when it's like, okay, I'm being heard, and what I say matters.
Yeah.
And you can make a bad call, and there it is.
Yeah. You're on the hook for it, regardless,
Yeah,
right?
you're on the hook for it.
I think that's one of the, so I, a lot of my previous podcasts, I talk about like extreme ownership. And that's kind of something that I kind of adopted, working in this position, was I own everything, regardless if I have my bosses are there, if they're not there, like everything that goes through that shop is on me, good, bad, and indifferent, right? That was kind of the mentality. And when I owned every project, every op order, everything that came out of that office, I started to kind of scrutinize things a little bit more and kind of like look at things.
Makes you look a little bit harder.
Yeah, because like it became to me like a pride thing, I guess. Like I didn't want my shop looking bad. I mean, so yeah, a lot of the things were, well, we didn't get the information, we didn't get that, and we had to go back and look at him like, you know what, we didn't push that out to you. And a part of it was, owning up. Yep, you're right. My bad. We didn't give that to you in time, so that's on us. We'll take that one.
Yeah.
And now it's on us to deal with the issue, right? Versus, and then I would go and talk to the shop and like, look, we can't be mad at the units for not doing something if we didn't even push the information out correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's on us. We have to do better.
Gotta own that.
Yeah, we gotta own that. And my OIC, Major Hunter, great leader, like one of the best I probably had in a long time. Well, then now I have Major Clinton. She's actually really good too.
Yeah.
But they emphasized us owning, and making sure that our house was correct before we started trying to, bear down on the other units for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
So, that was part of the struggle. A lot of it was, going through all that. But yeah, so it's been a process. So like I said, and from firsthand experience, that job it's a thankless job, right? You don't go there, you don't do that job, expecting people to be like, man, thank you so much. And
no, you're the most hated guy in the battalion.
Right.
No lie.
Yeah. Most hated individual, because you're the one calling people, calling units, calling commanders. You guys, we need this, we need that. They hate us.
Yeah. They hate us because they ain't us.
Exactly. And what I started to find quite humorous was when like we would get other people that came up to the shop and they got to see firsthand what we dealt with, and they're like, "Oh, this is a lot." Like, yeah, no shit, man. But now they understand. Now they have the full side, the full circle experience, right? And that's why I started to think like maybe this is the way it is for everybody, right? This is brigade. They're getting crapped on, and we like to sit down in our little building and assume that they're not doing anything when they might be doing everything. I don't know. I'm not there. Same thing at the units. Maybe they're not doing anything. Maybe they're doing just staying afloat just like we are, So it's I kind of try to get a little bit more understanding. And again, that's also a part of growth right there, because most people are like, I don't care what they're doing down there. They're not doing what I told them to. Then I try, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the mentality.
Yeah,
like,
they ain't doing what I'm told them to do, so you better fix.
Yeah, you guys aren't. But the thing is I started to think like maybe they're struggling like we are. I don't know. I'm not there. So I kind of started to try to get a
first-hand perspective on them,
or just be a little bit more understanding, and be more helpful. I think that was the key to really being successful. And like I said, it's not, I don't think an S3 shop or an operations section's ever going to be perfect, because that requires every operation shop above it to be perfect, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's just not gonna happen, because we're human beings, man, and we go through our own life struggles and our own stuff going on, and So, and that's kind of embracing the suck there. Like, I forgot who I talked to, but I openly admit, I was like, yeah, you know what? As much as I resisted doing this job, because I messaged you, I'm like, man, I'm scared. I
Oh
don't know if
yeah.
I'm
Like, I don't know
terrified.
if I'll make it today.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to make it. But like, part of me was like, I actually enjoy this chaos, just the sheer
It's controlled
showing.
chaos.
Yeah, you just go up there and you just like immediately check your emails. All right, what big things do I got today? What little things are going to pop up today?
Yeah.
And that really built, going through all that kind of has really built, it's kind of a cheesy word. I don't know, resilience, I guess, right? Like just,
what it is.
yeah, really thick skin and, and just kind of going through that, right? And then just in my personal life, like I kind of let my fitness kind of go to the side, kind of ran into some health issues because of it, type 2 diabetes, my body hurting, just,
You know what you did? You put yourself second to what you were doing.
yeah.
That's
I really,
that's what that
yeah,
is.
yeah, I really did. And then I would say for the past 6 months, I started to set boundaries, right? Like I had to, because if you don't, you're going to burn yourself out.
Yeah, you would.
100%. So like I said, you lose sight of your fitness goals, you lose sight of your personal goals. I mean, because you're trying to make everything work. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I was like, all right, 17-hour, I'm out. I don't care what's going
Yeah,
on.
you gotta have a stopping point.
Yeah, that's a problem
You're
for
gonna burn yourself out.
future Joey. That's tomorrow's Joey's problem.
Yeah.
And I'll figure it out, right? Like I had to set boundaries, and I remind people up there too that work up there, like, hey, don't stay too late.
Yeah,
Take some time, go home, because tomorrow this problem is still going to be here. And unless we have a solution for it, there's nothing we can do. Right now, there's nothing that we can't worry about tomorrow. Right. So I guess my next question to you would be like, why do you think people are so resistant to painful and difficult times?
Good question. So you say why they are resilient to painful and difficult times.
Resistant, like they don't want to go through it.
That's what I mean, resistant.
Yeah.
Well, no one wants to really deal with anything the suck, more or less. You don't want to deal with it, so it's like you gotta let me find a way to get out of it.
Right.
I know for me personally, if I see a hard road coming ahead, I'm gonna see how I can get around it, or how can I at least minimize the blow on what it's gonna be, and I think being resistant to that it's just a natural human reaction. I think it's just naturally what us as human beings is gonna do. Let me try to resist anything that's not gonna go out to my favor.
Right.
I think that's more or less also maybe selfishness.
I can see that.
Maybe selfishness. Just and I would say also not wanting to be a team player, because you're never gonna deal with, especially when it comes to like a work related thing, you're never gonna deal with it just all by yourself.
Right.
Now in your personal world, it's a little different. You're just gonna resist it, to just not want to deal with it. I feel like and me personally, I avoid it just at all costs, just so I don't have to deal with the blowback.
Right. Yeah, I could feel that. It's for me, I think, because I've been kind of like diving deep into this for the past couple of months, hence the whole podcast starting again, and just kind of just, resisting painful and difficult times. And I think for me is I've had a couple of deaths in the family, and like my grandma and my uncle, they literally passed within months of each other. And, I was, working, going to school, doing all these things. And, while, I guess what I'm trying to say is a lot of this stuff has been happening, and my mom, the stuttering here, my mother has, she's taken the death's pretty difficult. And just, I think for me, I kind of came to a realization that kind of one of those, like, death is unavoidable, right? That's coming for us all. And then I started to think about more of like, how do I spend my time? What am I doing with my time? Am I wasting it? Am I just like, look at your phone. How much time are you spending on apps? Are you wasting your precious, valuable time? What are you doing, to better yourself? Or what are you doing just wasting your time? And then just resisting, like, for instance, I'm going to say this, like, just for this podcast in general, it's been 2 weeks since I put an episode out, right? And it's easy. All you gotta do is sit in front of the camera and talk. It's not hard. It's not difficult. But my mind, and I think this is the biggest player in the game here, is your mind keeps you from going through those things. Because I kept telling myself, or I kept thinking, I don't really feel like doing it. I don't really want to do this. Or, your mind is, a lot of people may not realize this, but your mind is not your friend. It's your enemy. It is, it is hardwired to protect you from perceived difficult or painful times, right? So I think, like you said, it's human nature really to like really pigeonhole it, or to really break it down. It's your mind. It's against you. Just like I hate running, hate it with a passion.
We all know.
Yeah, I absolutely hate running. And like I said, I quit going to the gym for a long time. And at one morning I woke up and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to the gym. I made the decision. I'm going to start going at 4 or 5 in the morning. I don't care what day it is. I don't care what's going on. I'm going to go to the gym. I don't care if I just go there and I just stand on the, sit on the bike machine and I just don't do anything. I'm there. I made it. So to me,
icons to go.
Yeah, exactly. My whole thing is winning my first battle of the day with myself, with my mind, is telling myself, because every morning my alarm goes off at 3:34 and I'm like, oh, I hit the snooze button a couple of times and my mind's like, nope, it's cold. This nice warm bed. I don't want to get up. Just stay here. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Just sleep in a little bit more. And then there's the other voice in my head that says, nope, you got to get up. You got to get up. You got to get up. And to me, that was building, in kind of, in a sense, embracing the suck there too. Cause like, let me tell you, there's been mornings where I don't even know how I don't even remember driving to the gym, but I get there and then once I warm up, I'm good to go. But I guess what I'm getting at is your mind is your number one enemy. It works against you, and it has good intentions, right? It wants to protect you from those terrible, painful times, whether it's the gym, finally, speaking up or being, like assertive in your workplace, your personal life. It tries to protect you from doing, things that could emotionally harm you potentially or whatever. And that's just some of those barriers that you gotta get over. So I guess in a sense, like embracing that suck. I'm gonna keep saying this, embracing the suck, just to get because honestly though, there have been times where like, man, I really don't want to go to the field for a week, or I really don't want to do this.
Oh, and yeah, we've all been there. I don't really want to go on this deployment. Yeah, I don't really want to go out here and do this PT test.
I don't want to do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
But once you're out there, it really builds that resilience in that. So David Goggins talks about. I'm a big fan of David Goggins, and he talks about. There's one of his books. He's like, a lot of us, you wouldn't go in combat without body armor, right? Like, absolutely not. You better believe I'm wearing everything, right? Weapons clean, everything's good to go. I'm going out there prepared. Well, then why don't you do that to your mind? Why don't you armor your mind? I was like, no, that's a good question. Why don't I? And then his thing was, do something that sucks every day. So you wake up, whether it's waking up early, going to the gym, pushing, doing something. And I've kind of adopted this thing where if I say I'm not going to do it, guess what? I got to do it. Like, I absolutely. And there's moments of agitation where I'm just like, I really don't want to do this, even while I'm doing whatever I said I don't want to do. And it's kind of crazy though, how you're like, once I started to realize that my own mind is working against me, I was like, I never thought of it that way. Once I put it in that kind of like perspective and kind of that, in that light, I was like, I don't want my mind to win. And for the past 2 weeks that I've been on leave, my mind has been winning. I've been doing everything else but what I'd planned to like, film a bunch of.
A whole plan set up, didn't you?
I did. I had a whole thing. I was gonna, work on a bunch of stuff. I was going to, that I need to do to get ready to PCS. I was gonna record a bunch of podcasts, just so I could have some ready to go to post. And I did none of that. Right? Did none of it. So I was like, I told my wife, I was like, man, I've been really lazy. I've been doing stuff, but not stuff I wanted to do or had planned to do. Been really lazy. It just been really just not, not really with it. And it was just, I wanted to do everything else. I wanted to just play video games and just be lazy. I mean, that was fine for a couple of days, but after 2 weeks, man, come on,
Yeah.
So I had
Get your life, bro. Get your life.
Yeah. So I had a conversation with myself the other day and I was like, you need to start figuring this stuff out. Like you need to you owe it to yourself, I think. And for people that, that are watching this or going to watch it or, get to this point, like you reach a point in your life or a crossroads where you don't want to do something, just do it. And I know that's easier said than done, but you gotta beat your mind every day. That's tough, like, because your mind is.
So what you're saying is you got to just do it like Nike.
Yeah, just like Nike. Yeah,
yeah, you just got to do it.
Don't think about it.
I can 100% agree with that too.
Yeah. Like what are some things that you've been wanting to do that you just haven't done?
Man,
that you have control over, and I'm not talking about
of course
outside circumstances.
I've been wanting to do some things around the house, fix some things. And now, mind you, like I've had ample amount of time and opportunity to do it and the ability to do it, but it's like actually doing it, just like it's some stuff I wanted to like move out the house into that's in the living room, and I have a place to put it, and I have the means to do it, but it's like I look at it, I could do it a little later, put it off. Next thing you know, it's like, damn, I didn't do the thing I wanted to do,
Right.
But yeah, get to my garage, clean my garage out, haven't been saying I'm gonna do that for a couple months now. And I got to doing it.
Yeah.
Being a little lazy, and also just, I don't know. I think depression can play a part in that too.
Right.
Whenever you have like in a slump, that'll keep you from getting things done that you wanted to do, intrusive thoughts. But like you said, your mind's not your friend. It's gonna play games with you. It's gonna beat up at you. It's gonna have you thinking other things. Yeah, it's a few things I've been wanting to get done. I just keep kicking down the road and let intrusive thoughts and get to me and stuff like that.
Well, I would offer like I said earlier, like the moment you say, I don't want to do that, you have to do it. Try putting that into practice. Like I'm serious. It like the first couple times you'll do it, you're like, oh, this is terrible. Like it almost, I think they've done, I think we're like doing things that you don't like to do in the brain, right? Not physically, but in the brain is almost the equivalent to feeling like full on pain, like your body feeling pain. So it's like, those are painful, I guess, mentally painful experiences. Like it could be as simple as taking out, you've been staring at that trash for walking by it, keep piling up in your kitchen. I don't want to take that trash out. But like you doing it, I guess, as David Goggins would say, it calluses your mind. It armors your mind. You start doing little things to kind of combat that. And it really, I would say it helps. I would say I'm not perfect at it. Of course, it's every day's a struggle. Every day's a new challenge for me to do something that I don't want to do. Yeah. And and sometimes my mind does win. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. Like these past 2 weeks, like I said, like it's been winning, and it's got to stop, right? I got stuff to do, and I keep pushing it off, and then that's where you run into the whole last minute. And now I'm scrambling to get stuff done, and it's kind of like that's a whole new level of stress that I don't really want to deal with. I think, like, I don't know about you, but there are times where like even making as simple as making a phone call for a doctor's appointment, can really just, I don't want to do it. Like, even though it's for me, it's beneficial to me. Obviously I get seen by the doctor, they tell me what's wrong or what's, try to give me some help. Yeah. But just making the phone call to make an appointment just seems like a daunting task
in itself.
It's like, now I got to find the hour and the time, and I got to, leave my job to go to this appointment. And it's just, it seems more of a burden, more of a hassle than anything else. Right. And I had to flip that thinking too, because I got to take care of myself, right? So it was really, and a friend of mine put it this way, because I gotten some blood pressure medicine put in, and I've been like, I keep getting calls from the pharmacy to come pick it up. But where we work, we're like on the other side of, in the middle of nowhere away. The pharmacy I had to pick it up was at the new PX, so on the other side of base, right? So for me, it was super inconvenient to go all the way over there just to pick up some medicine, right? And I have to leave work. It's like 30 minutes to drive over there, now I got to wait in line. So you're looking at like an hour and a half.
Those are the intrusive thoughts.
Right. And then I'm like, I really don't want to do this. But my friend was like, so if your children had needed that medicine, would you go get it? I'm like, absolutely. I wouldn't even think about it. I'd just go grab it. Okay. So he's like, then why aren't you taking care of yourself as if you would your kids? And I thought about that. And I'm like, it's a good point. Why wouldn't I Why wouldn't I do that? So then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go. I pulled my card and I left. And I had to go because I needed it. Right, my blood pressure skyrockets and probably have a heart attack. But those are just kind of like mental things. Just and it's an everyday life. And I think David, again, I'm gonna quote David Goggins a lot because this dude he's a mental monster. I say that because he's like life is gonna bring you a lot of shit. He's gonna throw everything you can at you, and if you're not ready, it's gonna knock you down, and you're not gonna be able to handle it. So make sure that your mind is by implementing the do something that sucks every day. Just one thing. At least start with that. You can at least strengthen your mental toughness, and then you're able to face those challenges when they come, like death in the family or losing your job and now you don't have any money. What are you going to do? Those catastrophic things, they can happen. And I was like, that's a good point. And it really hit home when my family members, my grandmother and my uncle, they died, and someone had to be strong, right? And I would say I took it pretty well, and I didn't think of death as an ending to their life, but more of a beginning. Changed my thought process. There's so much that you can do to get through your struggles, and hopefully, people, understand that, like just because you're going through something tough doesn't mean that's the end. It's probably going to make you stronger because you're going to get through it. And, I'm pretty sure you can think on your own life, like how many things you've been through and you're still here. Right?
Yeah.
And you don't have to share, but, there's been times, of course, we all have different coping mechanisms, but, I know people that have almost taken their own lives, and because life is just too much.
Yeah.
And I know people that have taken their own lives because life was too much. And I'm not saying they were weak or anything. It was just, it's just the circumstances at play.
Yes.
And those really hit home. Yeah, I'll share this real quick, but I had a friend in Japan who was a really good friend of mine. He was the retention career counselor. Really good dude. He was a old 11 Bravo, man. He'd gone to Iraq, Afghanistan, done the whole shebang, and like when you knew this dude at work, he's super helpful, super nice guy, just all around a very cheery individual, right? But he had a really hardcore aggressive side to him, when you got to know him, not in a bad way, but he was, and he would just openly talk about stuff, right? I was his, I guess, way with dealing with whatever. But after I left Japan and he took his own life, like he was 4 days from retirement, 4 days from terminal leave, right? He was retiring. And he took his own life. And for me, that really hit home for me because he was a good friend of mine. And then 2, he was one of the strongest people I've ever known.
Yeah.
Right.
It's always the strong ones that would be the softest ones.
Yeah.
Not to say it's soft, but it's the strongest ones that.
Right.
Yeah. It'd be like that.
It was that hit home for me, and it was kind of like, I hadn't talked to him in a couple months, and it was kind of one of those things where like, how could someone so strong do something like that? What was his breaking point? And I was just, kind of, I was in shock really for a while about it. But, it's one of those things. It's life. And I don't want to chalk that experience up to just, oh, it's just life happening. But at the end of the day, it's the fact of the matter. It's life. Life happens. People go, people pass on, people, shitty things are going to happen in life. Are you going to be mentally prepared for it or not? That's the question. Like, you never know. So I think for me, I've completely switched my thinking. It's like, now it's time to really start to callous and armor my mind and realize that my mind is not my friend. It's not there to help me grow and to be a better person. It's there to keep me where I'm at. Right. That's a whole nother episode, being stuck. But
I know, like with my retirement coming up, with it being such an unknown, it's a very trying time. The way ahead, you never, the last 20 plus years, my day has been planned out for the most part, been planned out, not by me, but by someone else.
Mm-hmm.
But then now it's like the new normal of like, I don't know, like I need to make up my own schedule for the day,
Yeah.
It's not like that's like not a hard thing to do. But it's just, I now have to do more thinking that I didn't have to do prior before,
Right.
It's the unknown knowns and then unknown unknowns.
Yeah. Yeah, I would tell you that retiring is definitely one of those things. It's like, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. I don't think anybody's not looking forward to retirement. I think it's like, what now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you said, like you go to work and you already have you have leftovers from yesterday, and then you got a whole buffet line coming up for this
Yup.
day, right? So you're just kind of like,
Yup.
okay, well, let me just work on this. And kind of, even though it's chaotic and stressful, like you kind of have an idea of how your day is going to go. So, I've thought about that too. Like, am I going to be one of those people that just like, because I don't have all the stressful things going on in life, that I just fall apart? I get fat and depressed and, like, but I'm preemptively strengthening myself mentally, not just physically, but mentally, to prepare for that. And, it's a scary, wonderful feeling, I think, to retire. Like, it's one of those,
Yeah.
that's why I got to keep myself busy. If I don't, I'm going to completely fall apart. And I think that's for a lot of people that, I mean, like you said, 20 years of high stress life planned out for you already, kind of knowing what's going to happen to a degree can be pretty daunting. But yeah, so in this whole episode, we talk about like, well, hold on, let's just ask one more question, right? So we kind of hit on this a little bit. So I'm going to ask you though, how do you personally lean into struggle instead of running from it? So what was a time that you were like, you know what, I just got to do this. I can't run from this one. Let me just knock it out.
Man, that's like, no. I feel like they're all like that. Every situation, I could probably tell you more of the ones where I didn't have to run away from it. Like, right. It's easier to say the ones I didn't want to run away from, because in all honesty, I don't think I've wanted to really do anything that the Army has told me to do. And I'm saying this is career wise. There's nothing the Army has told me to do that I just have wanted to do. I'm not going to lie. I've never got an assignment or a job that's like, you know what, that's going to be kick ass to do.
Yeah.
There has not been one, but I can tell you the ones where it's like, I like your job. Yeah. Like, I didn't want to do that. I knew that was something I had to do though. Yeah. And it was like, you know what, I got to do that so I can, because of course I had aspirations of, being a diamond wearing first sergeant at one point, but I knew I had to do that KD, like
right.
It's something I had to do. And I just took it really with a grain of salt, because I didn't know what I was doing, but I kind of made up as I went. Yeah. More or less. And I know a lot of people could probably can contest to that one. And
yeah, absolutely.
With, like, you just kind of make it up as you go. And I think that's the one where it's that one right there. Full on, full force, head on.
Yeah. Okay. Like, yeah, I would say I would agree with you 100%. That was kind of one of the job currently. Was one of the ones that I was just like, man. Yeah. And then you just had to, I don't know, you just had to like dive headfirst into the deep end and hopefully you float, or you kick and squirm enough to.
Are you bound to drizzle, son?
You're just like this. You're just treading water, man.
Yeah.
As you get tired, you sink a little bit, you come back up, get some more air. Yeah, definitely, definitely some trying times for sure. And it's man. But there's been a lot of jobs that I don't want to do. For instance, this next assignment I'm going to, I don't want to go. I'm leaving my family for a year. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I same like you, I had aspirations to lead and to be hopefully a first sergeant one day. But I think, like we discussed earlier, I think time is against me on that one, and it's time to move on, right? Time to grow outside of the Army bubble. And that's kind of one of those kind of things, like it's what I want to do versus what I'm allowed to do versus what I need to do, right? And what takes priority. What I need to do is going to be the priority there.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely one of those struggle bus, things. So I would say to anybody, watching, if you made it this far, right? So, struggling and going through painful, traumatic events and all that is going to be your best teacher. Like, it's going to reveal things that, it's going to test your mettle, so to speak, right? It's kind of I've said this before, maybe, but I'm saying it again, right? The forge within, right? Because, that's one of my buddies makes me say, the forge within. Like, dude, it's a great concept, right? It's about personal growth, because only going through the fire, through the struggle, or embracing the suck, do you like come out the other end stronger, right? Once you go through that fire and you get beat on for so long, like it's gonna make you stronger. Like it's just kind of one of the effects of going through shitty stuff. That's kind of why that's why I was drawn to the name. I like that. I'm gonna use that one. No, I think we're at like an hour and 7 minutes. I think it's a good time to wrap it up. But no, I really appreciate you coming on, man, and sharing your experiences and giving your insight, of course. And
yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. How do you feel though? Was it as bad as you thought?
No.
No.
I'll probably think about after I watch it later on. I'll be like, yeah, that right there.
Yeah. I could have said that. I could have done this.
Yeah.
That happens to me all the time. I'll be watching and be like, man, I should have brought this up. I should have brought that up. But, no. So we'll just kind of wrap this up. So just a kind of a challenge to the listeners. If you do make it to this part, find one thing today, right? And this is for you too, Tony, that makes you feel uncomfortable and something that you don't want to do, you're resisting to do, and just do it.
They should do it.
And just do it. Just do it. Just, and I guarantee your mind is going to be screaming at you. Nope, don't do it. Nope. That's tomorrow problem. No, it's a today issue, right?
It's a today Tony's problem.
It's a today's Tony's problem. It's a today's Joey's problem. So just, after we're done with this, go move that thing that you've been trying to move for the past 6 months.
Yeah. I'm gonna move that table.
Yeah, let me know. Send me a picture, man. No, but this, again, it's a challenge for anybody, right? Like just go do something that you've been putting off, that you've been, kind of neglecting or putting off to the side, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And just go do it. That's all I got. All right. All right, man. Well, thanks. And we'll hope to have you on again.
Yep. I'll be back on.
All right, man.